Joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show once again, always appreciate taking some time to talk baseball, one of our favorite sports, and obviously the man atop the flow chart of Major League Baseball. We always appreciated him taking the time to talk to us. He's the Commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred. How you doing, Commissioner?
I'm just great, Rich. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, man. I got to tell you, what a heck of a World Baseball Classic we just witnessed and what we just saw, and I'm wondering how it sat with you, Commissioner Manfred.
Rich, it was fantastic from my perspective. Obviously the matchup at the end, Japan versus U.S., great matchup. Ohtani versus Trout, unbelievable. But, there were things early that I loved as well. I think, Mike Trout taking a leadership role in terms of getting the very best players to participate on the U.S. team was huge for us. Some of the teams that, from countries that you don't ordinarily think of as baseball countries, actually winning games in the tournament, all great developments from our perspective. And the business piece of it, we just killed the licensing, viewership, attendance, all the way around. And
so what do you say to fans who are wondering why this happens? Why does this have to happen? And obviously fans of the New York Mets and the Houston Astros with Edwin Diaz and Jose Altuve getting hurt significantly in these contests might be the loudest voices in the room. What do you say to those fan bases, Commissioner?
Look, the WBC is about growing the game internationally. If you look at the level of interest that was generated in Japan during this event, throughout the event, we had nights where, over 40%, nearly 50% of the homes in Japan are tuned into the game. That's crucial for us. You can't, unless you want to be, just a North American kind of domestic sport, you have to play in this international arena. In terms of the injury issue, I think it's really important to focus on what the players said, to tell you the truth. After the injuries, they pointed out, look, people get hurt in spring training. We don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Right.
But, people get hurt in spring training too. And I think overall, nothing in life is all good. Overall, the massive benefits of this event outweigh the problems caused by injuries.
And the players themselves were talking. Mookie Betts was saying it's one of the greatest experiences he's ever had on a baseball diamond. All that said, do you think you're going to still need to twist some arms, figuratively, for the next one, 2026? Do you think?
I actually think that the fact that players like Mookie and Mike Trout and Adam Wainwright went out and talked about this as being one of their greatest experiences in baseball, that will entice other players to participate. I also think you're going to see, particularly with respect to the U.S. team, that they're going to be looking to load up and win again. I really do believe that. The baseball players pretty competitive, Rich, and nobody likes to lose. So I think the event will continue to grow. I really do.
Well, like I was saying on my show, Commissioner, and I'll just repeat it here, Ohtani versus Trout was a bring the entire family into the room moment in my household. The entire family was there. We just called everyone in, like, let's go see this, and we were just on the edge of our seats the entire time. That's what it was.
We actually had gone downstairs to get ready to, go on the field and award medals. And I'm standing there, and I'm literally thinking, I can't believe this is actually happening. It's like one of those things. You could not ask for a better end to the tournament.
I've got the Commissioner, Rob Manfred, of Major League Baseball here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk about the rule changes of Major League Baseball. Which one do you think is going to open up play the most for you?
Well, I think the one that is going to have the biggest effect on offense and action in the game is actually the elimination of the shift. I think the one that is going to be the most impactful in terms of making the game more like fans want to see it is the pitch clock.
Why do you think that the pitch clock will be one that fans want to see the most?
I think it's pace of game. I think the single, our fan research suggests that the single biggest issue that fans have with the product that we've put out there in recent years is, long delays, lack of action in the game, the length of the game too. And I think the pitch clock has shown really well in spring training. I've actually been out. I've talked to, met with in-person players on 6 clubs. The player reaction to the rules has been unbelievably positive. I mean, they do have little things around the edges that we're trying to address, but nobody's saying this isn't a good idea. People think including the players, think the pitch clock is an improvement in the game.
Well, while we're on the subject of the pitch clock, let me tell you a couple concerns that I have about it, and you just let me know if I should not be or what your thinking is. First one about it with the pitch clock that I'm concerned about is a game is going to end on a pitch clock violation. That there's going to be an incredible contest that we're seeing play out. It's going to be a rivalry game. It could even be a playoff game, and somebody just loses their place at the moment because they're just locked in. And walk-off pitch clock violation. What are your thoughts about that, Commissioner?
Yeah, look, I mean, it happened early in spring training. It is a possibility. I do think that there is enough flexibility in the rules, including the capacity of the umpire to rewind the clock, that that's something in a really dramatic situation. I think our umpires are really good at managing those kinds of situations.
So they have leeway to just start the clock
they can
at a
rewind.
different...
Yeah, they can rewind if they want to.
So is there like a hand signal for that? So I know what it is in football.
Yeah.
What it would be.
Yeah, you'll see them put the finger up and twirl it to rewind.
Okay, and that takes care of my other concern, which is the Trout-Ohtani battle to end the World Baseball Classic. If there was a pitch clock, every single one of those pitches in that remarkable sequence where the tension built, the drama built, and then the pitch finally came, every single one of them would be a pitch clock violation. Is there a thought maybe to just turn it off in a save situation in any game? Is there a possibility of something like that?
Look, the most important point, Rich,
yes.
and I want to make the big point, and I've said this to the players that I've met with. Our feet are not in stone with respect to the pitch clock. We want to see how it, we've seen it in we saw it in the minor leagues.
Yep.
We've seen it in spring training. We want to see it in regular season games, particularly in situations that are high leverage. And, I think we will talk about what should happen in those situations. And I think that certainly have the capacity to make adjustments on the fly during the course of the season.
But the other rules, obviously, the bases are the size that they're going to be. And the shift is going to be what it is.
Yeah, the shift's going to be what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's, and again, I want to emphasize this. The core of the pitch clock is going to be the core of the pitch clock. It's these things around the edges to address unique situations or particular situations, maybe is the better word, during a game. We'll continue to, get input from players and talk about those.
How much pushback did you get on the shift from, say, the manager class and group? Because every single manager I've had on here, I've been trying to get rid of this shift, where as a fan, you watch the game and you see a line drive to right field, and it shouldn't nestle into the glove of a third baseman. It should hit the turf. And then, of course, it hits the glove of a third baseman who's just perfectly positioned. And all managers have told me, it's like, too bad. Like, this is our job, is to get outs defensively. But I love it. I'm just wondering how much pushback you might have gotten from the managers.
You know what? Not a lot, to tell you the truth. I think that, most our managers are kind of the mentality, tell me what the rules are, and I'm going to figure out how to give my team the best chance to win within that construct. a lot of the guys managed for years and years where the shift was not that prevalent. They know how to do it. And I think that people do appreciate, including field managers, that the shifting had a disproportionate impact on certain types of players and a negative impact in terms of the amount of action in the game.
Rob Manfred, baseball commissioner, in advance of another playing season coming up right here on the Rich Eisen Show. A few more minutes left with Commissioner Manfred. So where do we stand on umpiring and potential automation of it? Where might that stand right now as we talk, Commissioner?
Well, we're continuing to test in the minor league two versions of the automated system. One version, the umpire wears an earpiece and the system calls every pitch. The second version is essentially a challenge system where the pitcher, catcher, or batter can challenge a certain number of times during the game, and the umpire instantaneously gets the answer again through an earpiece. The system is tremendously accurate. It really is. Unlike the pitch clock, there is more potential for consequences that we need to really study. You think about it, the umpires right now call essentially an oval strike zone. If you look at factually what they call, the automated system calls the rectangle that the rule book sets out. And you got to understand, and we need to understand thoroughly what the impact of that is before we go any further.
Yep.
The second thing I'd say to you, we're digesting a large amount of change this year in an institution that has not been particularly embracing of change.
You could say that.
You kind of think about that a little bit.
Okay.
Too. Just in terms of timing, and when do you bite off another issue?
That's a good way to put it, that there's a lot going on this year. Let's see how it all lands. And then so that's when you'll maybe address this down the road after you see everything that you put in place here.
But Rich, I would be less than candid if I didn't say, I have a lot of advocates in the game for the automated system. There's no question about that. And the system is very good and very accurate. We just need to make sure we understand everything it does.
Commissioner Rob Manfred here on the Rich Eisen Show. One of the last things I want to bring up with you is the owner of the New York Metropolitans, sir. And his spending is a way that I can't recall anything close to what Steve Cohen has put out there. And the luxury tax system, it does appear that there's an owner in Major League Baseball that just doesn't particularly care. I know I'm talking about another man's money here, but there's a 9-figure luxury tax bill, and that's larger than some payrolls of entire teams. And I'm just wondering how that's landing within the ownership group that you might be willing to share with us, Commissioner.
Well, look, I think it's important to start from the proposition that, we made an agreement with the MLBPA that puts a certain system in place. That system is designed to create certain disincentives to spending at certain levels. But everything that Steve's done is completely within the rules. He has every right to do what he's done. I think that it does, when you have somebody who steps out that far, it does highlight an issue that we have worked to manage over the entire time since I started in baseball in 1988, and that is the disparity in revenues between our markets and the consequential disparity in payrolls. We sell competition. We want everybody to be able to compete, and at some point, the level of disparity, raises questions about people's ability to compete. So, I think that those two thoughts kind of bound the issue for me, one side and the other. And, we're going to continue to try to make adjustments to our system as we move forward to make sure that we preserve that perception of competitiveness across our markets.
Commissioner, I appreciate the time here on the program. By the way, I love the new spots that you put out with what Bryan Cranston, Sebastian Maniscalco, Tim Anderson, I think I saw with Blake Snell, another one about the new rules. My favorite one is Vogelbach thinking of stealing a base now because of how large the bases are, and Buck Showalter saying don't do it.
Daniel has some kind of personality that really comes through in the spot, and they're not the whole group of them taken together are probably not your traditional baseball spots, and we think that's a good thing.
Well, I remember about the commercials about the long ball and who used to dig them. I remember that back in the day from when I was on ESPN, and we were thinking of airing some of these spots on this program, but my crew is pushing back, saying we don't have the rights. So I figured I'll ask the commissioner here for express verbal consent. Just air one of them today.
Can I tell you something? If you need it in writing, we'll get it for you in writing. You want to show the spots, Rich? We're good.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay. No, I don't. Look,
you will not hear a word from us. I promise you that. Okay.
Sounds good. I just wanted to make sure, because I hear that disclaimer all the time, my entire life. I figured, I have the commissioner on, I just get the express verbal consent, and we're cool. Okay.
Well, you can assume we've taken care of that, okay?
Thank you, sir. We'll check that box, and I appreciate the time. Thanks, Commissioner.
Great to talk to you, Rich. We'll talk to you again soon.
Same to you. That is the Commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.